Welcome back. In continuation to the for statement, we are going to see about the while statement, the other kind of construct that is available in Python and in almost all programming languages for performing this iteration or otherwise called as your looping. Okay. Before proceeding in depth about the syntax and the type of usage, let us just recollect the parameters that is required for constructing a looping statement. The first one seems to be your initialization. We need to initialize the counter variable first. Second should be a condition which is used for representing the stopping criterion, right? So the loop should not run infinitely. It has to be stopped at a particular point of time. That is given by the means of condition. Third is increment or decrement. After performing one iteration, that is one set of execution, what to do with the counter variable, whether you want to increment or decrement, that depends on how you have initialized, right? So these are the three parameters that are required in for statement, which we already have seen in for statement by using one command called range. So range takes three parameters: start, stop and step, in accordance to your initialization condition and your increment or decrement operation. Now, while is also a looping statement in the sense that all the three parameters has to be there present in a while. But the syntax of while supports only condition. So look at the syntax of while command. So it has a keyword while followed by the condition. This condition represents what is the stopping criteria, right? So after that we have a colon. If you keep it, automatically the next set of statements following that having indentation represents the part of the loop. Now, where to keep the initialization and increment and decrement? Just think of logically where to keep the initialization. So we have to initialize before the loop starts. That's it, right? So the counter variable has to be initialized before your while statement. That's where in the syntax I have written initialization followed by while condition. You can have any number of statements in between initialization and while condition. So just you need to make sure that the counter variable does not get disturbed. That's it. And where to have your increment or decrement, because without that it's of no use. Some kind of convincing closing criteria, that is breakout from the loop, has to be provided. How to do that, right? So that is given by me in the last statement. After having executed all the statements that are part of the loop, then if you keep your increment or decrement statement, that will be executed again. You will go back to the condition again, the process gets continued, right? So now let us see practically about the coordination between this for and while statement. Okay, just I have written a program. See, this is a program, simple program to calculate sum of n numbers. Okay, this is not exactly sum of numbers. This is the summation of the series. Let me correct. Sorry, series 1 plus 2 plus and so on up to n. So what should be taken as input is the value of n. So as usual, so we are going to use the input statement. This input, since it will be in the string format, has to be converted typecasted to integer and is stored on a variable called n. So the summation is set to 0. Summation is a variable which is going to represent the final output. So we are just initializing it to 0. Now using for, how will we do normally? For is a keyword, I is the counter variable, in is a keyword, range. What is the range you need to run? You have to start the series from 1, not 0, because your series summation start with 1. And you have to include n. Okay. So if you want to include n, what to give in the stop criteria here? It should be n plus 1, because the range won't take n. Right. So now every time the value of summation which is already stored has to be added with present value of I, and it has to be stored back to summation, right? So we are just printing summation. Just you see, using while loop also the statements go similar. So these two statements, it looks same. Inside range we have initialization. What does it mean? I is equal to 1. We are setting the value of I to 1. That is what we have taken out of the loop. I is equal to 1. So this represents what is called as initialization, right? Now while, what is the statement we have? Condition. So what is the condition? I less than n plus 1. So in order to make it coherent, we have written like this. So range, what is the last value? N plus 1. So it will stop till n. So here I should be less than n plus 1. It will stop till n. So every time the value of summation, previous value has to be added with I, and it will be stored back to summation. And what is the step here? Since nothing was written, by default the step is 1. So the counter variable at every step we are just incrementing by 1. Right. So what happens? It will execute for until the value of I reaches n. And just we are printing. Let us execute and see whether both are giving the same output. I have just executed for a test run. You could see 5 is my input. It's 15. So this is using for loop again. I have given 5 as my input. It is giving 15. Right. So if everything could be done by for loop, what is the necessity to have a while loop? People might have this doubt. For them, let us write a program where this while loop is of exact use. Right. Now we have written I have written one program to just sum up all the numbers that you give us input until a negative number is given. Right. What is the stopping criteria here? There is no finite number. Right. We cannot decide whether we need to execute 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, or not to execute the loop itself. Nothing we can test, because your input is very dynamic, right? So if your input is negative number, we mean to say that you have to stop your execution. Now what to do? I'm just printing a statement. Okay, in order for the users to understand the stopping criteria, enter negative number to stop. So we are getting the first number as input. So we are initializing sum to 0. There is no initialization required because we don't know the stopping criteria. So what to do? While a number is greater than or equal to 0, what does it mean? We are checking whether the given input is a positive number or a negative number. What is a negative number? Less than 0. I am checking whether it is greater than or equal to 0. If it is true, it means it is a positive number, and hence we are adding it to the sum and storing it back to the same variable. Again, before proceeding back, what to do? You have to get the next number. Otherwise, what will happen? The single input will be repeated for n number of times, and it will get into an infinite loop which will never stop, right? So this number is equal to int of input of enter the again the second number. What is the second number I am giving as input? 34. It will run. Third time 34 it will run. Fourth time 1 it will run. Fifth time when I give minus 45, what will it do? It will move back its execution to this while statement. So this condition will return false, and then it will come out and execute the next statement. What is the next statement? Just it will print the sum of the value as this sum, right? Let us execute and give the same numbers as input. So it is displaying the user stating that we have to enter a negative number to stop, right? So I am giving 30, 12, 34, 34. Next I guess 1 I have given. Suppose if I want to stop, minus 45 is what I need to give. So the sum is 81, which is the sum of all this 4, right? So in cases of this kind, like for loop may not be of comfortable use, so in which case while loop is preferable, right? So hope you had a better understanding on the while loop. I'll be posting some of the questions along with the solution shortly. This session is just for understanding the usage of while loop, right? Thank you.